10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to the Alien Probe Podcast. Well, when radars at the Washington National Airport at Andrews Air Force Base, both close to the nation's capital, picked up UFOs, the sightings beat the Democratic National Convention out of headline space. They created such a furor that I had inquiries from the Office of the President of the United States and from the press at Loudoun, Ottawa, and Mexico City. A junior-sized riot was narrowly averted in the lobby of the Roger Smith Hotel in Washington when I refused to tell U.S. newspaper reporters what I knew about the sightings. This is our continuing report on the unidentified flying objects by Edward Gruppel, and joined today again, Dr. Bill.
Hello.
How are you, buddy?
Hey, how you doing? Hey.
Living the dream as always. It's still hot. The state is still on fire.
Oh yeah, it's heading towards Tahoe. I saw.
Yeah, it's over. It's up by Placerville. It's luckily not coming toward Cameron Park, but it's going the other way. But I don't know how contained it was. It was zero for the longest time, but you have so many assets here. Grass Valley's on fire. I think even Sonora just got a fire this week, not too long ago. So
wow.
We have several Northern California fires.
This is pretty extreme. We've always had, well, when I was out there, there was always having a fire in California here and there, but this is crazy.
But Debbie and I were talking about it. It feels like somebody's doing this on purpose. I mean, where does it? Well, it is dry, and does it just spontaneously happen, or?
Well, I don't know.
You're the scientist.
I don't know what's going on, but when we were growing up, they had the CCP that used to do brush clearing in the forest?
Yeah, the Civilian
Conservation. PCC.
Civilian Conservation. CCC. Civilian Conservation.
And that's where like kids, high school, college kids could get summer work.
Yeah.
And you go out there and it was hard work. And they come out and they do brush clearing. I don't even know if they do that anymore. And I saw something, I don't know if it's true because I saw it on the internet. It
is true.
It is true.
It's not on the internet.
It's on the internet. That said that there was, they stopped doing like the brush remediation because ecological groups were suing the state to not do it anymore. So all this brush buildup and stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if that's what's going on. It seems more extreme than I remember when I was growing up there. And you've been there the whole time, so I don't know. It seemed more extreme to you with all these fires?
Yeah, it's extreme now. I mean, I think, like you said, did they discontinue clearing brush? Or, I mean, that's all they did was do those types of work.
Well, yeah, and then they would do, there was always fire roads and brush clearing, because they do the fire road, and then you clear the brush like 100 yards or 100 feet, I can't remember, from the road, and I don't know. Who knows? California does things its own crazy way these days.
Well, it's on fire. We got smoke down in the Sacramento area, and it's not heavy. I mean, it's not N95. I know certain people and groups are sensitive to it. I'm not. Well,
you saw. I saw those pictures. Was it last year where the sky was red there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was shocking.
It's doing that this year too. It's so commonplace now that it doesn't even. Oh. It doesn't even rate any comment. News. Yeah, now it's just on fire again. It's smoky again. So.
Oh, great.
When I went up to the foothills last weekend, though, it was clear up there. But now they're on fire, so I don't know.
All right.
What's up?
Hey, did you finish watching the UFO thing by Abrams?
Yes. I watched all the episodes.
I did too. What'd you think of it?
I thought it was pretty awesome. It was it's all the people we knew, Chop and Repelled. And
that was the first one, yeah.
And then, through all of the episodes, it was more or less what we already know, but it was portrayed in a much better cinematography and more thoughtful research, it seemed like, than I'm used to from Showtime's UFO alien
stuff.
exploits. But they did a good job. J.J. Abrams is like one of my favorites.
Well, yeah, they did the production values were really high.
How did he come? Do you know? Have you read anything? How did he come about doing something like that?
I have no idea. I think he's the executive producer, so executive producer's the one who makes the money, who gets the profit, and probably watches the budget, and then he probably just hired other people to do it and put it together, and then approved everything. Yeah. So I don't know, but he his movies sort of have some of the older ones, and has like the alien type Spielberg. He's sort of like a junior Spielberg. And so so there's that interest there. What'd you think of the third one where they were talking about the disinformation?
Well, it's, one of those things is it's, we need to, it's something that we fight as we talk about this all the time. It's, the debunking is,
there's,
going on.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. It was sort of funny because this guy was, I don't know who this one guy, they're talking about, I guess they drove this other guy crazy or something. And because of the secret Air Force programs, and I don't know if they mentioned the F-117 stealth fighter, which isn't a fighter, it's a mini bomber.
Fighter bomber.
Yeah, but I remember in like 1985, there was a crash of one and they sealed off the site and people were speculating that it was a UFO crash.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was the circles I moved in at the time, but I felt everybody knew that it was the stealth program. People knew about the stealth program. They just didn't know what the final configuration looked like. So it's like it just bugged me when I was looking at that, where they're talking about, the disinformation to hide the stealth program. I'm going, wait a minute. I mean, I thought everybody knew about the stealth program. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, and then, these things crash. I mean, when an F-117 or anything with, that they have that coating, they have this radar resistant coating. And when that stuff burns, you don't want to be anywhere near it. It's going to fucking kill you.
Yeah.
It's just bad. It might not kill you, but it'll fuck you up.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's just, that's the reason why they have an exorbitant amount of, it probably was unusual because they cleared an area that was, a million miles away.
Well, they didn't want anyone like a Soviet spy going in there, take a piece of it, and then what the, you can analyze, you can reverse engineer it. So yeah, that was interesting. Yeah. And then another thing that I thought was interesting that they brought in that guy, and I looked him up, James Carrion, who used to be involved in MUFON. And he got involved in it after he heard about the Gulf Breeze 6 and the convention that was in Florida, Pensacola, Florida, 1989. But he believes that everything about UFOs is a disinformation campaign at this point. And he got upset because Bigelow, you talked about this in your show with Debbie about Skinwalker, yeah. We'll segue into Skinwalker. Yeah. And about Bigelow and Bass. And I didn't know, and they were, I guess this $22 million that went to the ATIP program that Harry Reid had gotten went to Bigelow and went to Bass, and then Bass wanted to give, or I guess they did. I don't know if they did or didn't. They didn't say in the TV show. $50,000 a month, $50,000 a month for a 12-year project for them to have to fund teams to investigate UFO reports.
Right.
I thought it would have been interesting to, what happened with that?
Nothing.
Yeah.
It vaporized.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that.
It seems we found everything we're going to find. I mean, we could say, like you said, I mean, we seem to have, we just can't, we don't have the technology to go any at the moment, we don't have the technology to go forward with investigations. But I mean, as we read the book and then this chapter, I know we're going to do a pre-deal, but
and then this is the Washington sightings.
Yeah, so that was a big deal.
Well, that was a big deal because I was looking in the they didn't let Ruppelt investigate it.
Yeah,
and that's weird. So
yeah, I don't know. It's really, but like you said, you had the Harry, back to your other deal. Harry Reid, remember, he's hooked up with, he's a supporter Elizondo, saying that he was, who he was in ATIC, I think. Yep. And, he's stating that, he's supporting Elizondo's, reporting of what he can report on the UFO situation, but still we haven't gotten any further.
We're not seeing anything. Excuse me. And then they had what did they have? They had I don't know, it was weird that one guy at MUFON got upset because Bigelow was trying to give MUFON money to do investigations. That didn't really make sense to me. And I don't think they did a great job of threw stuff out and left you to make your own sort of interpretation.
Well, because they don't really, Bill, they don't have any answers. Like most of the things we don't have a definitive close. We don't have closure. Yeah, we're finding, and another thing with the book. I know we do want to discuss Skinwalker, but the book. I mean, they're picking up these things on radar throughout, at least as far as we've gotten so far.
Oh, yeah.
Do we not get these things on radar now? We're only able to get them in the 50s, but we can't get them now.
The Nimitz and there's the sightings off of Jacksonville, off of Florida, and the sightings by the Carrier Group off of San Diego or Baja, California. Those ones all saw this stuff on radar, the TikTok and the gimbal video. So I sent you a thing from Leto, who was reacting to Lieutenant Graves' presentation. There was a meeting where they're talking about UAPs as flight hazards, and I think this Lieutenant Ryan Graves was he might have been the guy that filmed the gimbal video, but I'm not sure. And so that was interesting because they are seeing that the military is seeing, they're getting radar contact and they're getting visual contact, as has been seen by their cameras and their pilots. So that's I think the consensus is that there is something going on, as we saw with the Galileo project, and that apparently there's other projects that are trying to take pictures and analyze spectra and whatnot of UAP. So I think it's finally stepped into, because of Reed and Elizondo and who's the other? Chris Mellon.
Right.
It's now mainstream, and the man, it's the let me do this. I got a fan on. Let me turn it off. That's probably making me cough. And these guys sort of have mainstreamed the idea that UAPs, UFOs are worthy of investigation and open discussion without ridicule. So, but the third series of this UFO documentary implied that all this stuff is like black ops, secret government flight testing. But in the report, they said that was released to Congress, they were saying that this was not government programs that they were seeing in the 144 sightings that they reported as unknown. So there's that.
Yeah, they have no definitive answers to this. And they continue to try. I guess you said they just pop up on radar. I mean, these things are coming up on, they see them on airport radar back in the day. Does this not come up in airport radar anymore? Do they just...
I don't know.
Ignore it?
I don't know how the systems work. There is there's something weird about the modern radar systems that if you don't have a transponder, the software doesn't necessarily see you.
Right.
So a craft without a transponder, the airport radar may not even show up for the operator to see. So I think I don't know how these modern systems operate anymore, but I do know that the fighter
to you on flight radar, that little tic tac looking thing that was cruising around the fire, which was it finally had a designation, but it wasn't. You could make it have a designation, but there was nothing there.
Might have been a drone. Was it a drone, you think?
It could have been a drone, I suppose, because it was funny because it looked like a Tic Tac, but I'm sure it wasn't a UFO. It was probably...
You mean that as it was flying around, did you see it, or did it...
It was just a drone. I mean, it just looked like a...
Did you see it?
Drone. No, I didn't see it. I saw it on flight radar. It was up in El Dorado County.
Yeah, I saw that. It was just like zipping around this one area.
Then it would go one. It would like this. It was so fast though. It would like disappear from one and then pop to the next. But that could have been the program, that made it look. It does that sometimes with planes too.
Yeah,
like make it look like it's jumping from one area to the next. But it's the software.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know what it was. My impression was it flying around a fire.
Yeah, but it was weird though, because what it is when you click on flight radar, you click on it or you tap it, and it gives the designation of the aircraft, the FAA number. I don't have the upgraded version where it gives you everything, but generally it'll give you, if you click on something, it'll give you the general information of the aircraft, even military.
Oh, okay.
And it didn't give any, but it was weird because it was like zigzag. It didn't have, usually they circle the fire and they do this. This thing was like all over the place, which could mean like your drone theory could be. Drone.
I mean, we had a neighbor that disappeared.
Oh, they never found your neighbor?
No. I don't know what happened with the guy. It's terrible.
Your kid?
No.
The guy that had the illness? Yeah,
the guy was, he had some sort of, I think, neurodegenerative disease that was affecting his health, and he went for a walk and disappeared. And the local sheriff was flying a drone around a lot to look for him. And so I don't know I don't think that would have showed up on radar. It was too low. So yeah, maybe it was a helicopter. I don't know. It's weird. Could have been
it was bizarre.
Yeah, you needed to go out there and look for it.
I'm not going to the fire. I don't think I want to go to the fire.
No. I
don't even like the smoke that much. I don't think I'll.
No. Yeah, I got
fire.
I was involved in fighting a fire years ago, and we got encircled and had to run out through sort of a gap, in twin walls of flames that were closing in on us.
Is this where you were now at your house?
No, this was years ago. This was in Utah. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So. But
Skinwalker.
Skinwalker, I think, is a whole load of crap.
Debbie and I would probably agree. We every time we get a chance to talk about it, it's Oak Island.
It's nonsense. I think it's complete nonsense. I watched a documentary. I don't remember what it was. Oh, it was by that guy that I think he did the guy that had that actor that would talk and say, "Oh, and the mystery." Mickey Rourke with the Bob Lazar. Yeah.
Where did this? Yeah, but Debbie's like, I can't even watch this.
And it's like, where's that guy? I can't remember his name. I should remember his name, but he did that documentary. He did a Skinwalker documentary, which was pretty good. And they talked with George Knapp, who was involved in that and stuff. And one of the things they mentioned during this things, they go, Skinwalker Ranch is an island in a reservation. I'm like, what? This doesn't make sense. How is there an island of private property in an Indian reservation? Well, you go and you look at the Uintah Indian Reservation, and it's sort of got like holes chopped in it.
Right.
And what happened is that the reservation was given to the Uintah Indians, and then legislative lawfare was waged against the tribe that allowed people, the state and the county, to buy land that they designated as not being utilized.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's insane. You look at a satellite map of that of the reservation. You know where the best land in that reservation is? Best ranch land? Skywalker Ranch.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You go in and look at the Uintah Reservation, and the best grazing land, green, it's on the river, and smack in the middle of this reservation, and it's Skinwalker Ranch. So I saw that. I go, uh-oh, this is not good. Another thing that bothered me about these documentaries and the show is that they got these guys that are gusset up in combat outfits to guard the ranch.
Yeah.
You know, with their M16s and their guns and all that stuff. They look like they're ready to hold the airport at Kabul. And I'm like, why do these guys need to be dressed like they're in Afghanistan when they're on a ranch in the middle of nowhere? And is this because of the transdimensional space aliens? They're going to shoot them with their M16s? And I think it's to protect the people on the ranch from the hate that is surrounding this place.
You mean by the Indians?
By the Indians, yeah. So Uintah Reservation. So the thing is reservation land is sovereign. So if you are, so say you're Native American, you live next door to Skinwalker Ranch, you hate the people at Skinwalker Ranch and the people that have stolen the best land in your reservation, and you decide to mess with the people. So you go over there and you do stuff, and whatever that is. So the people that are working the ranch or own the ranch or whatever, they call the local sheriff. The local sheriff can come over, and he can't do anything because although in that county, apparently there's a lot of conflict because the sheriff does go on to reservation land and arrest people. Which is because the reservation is such a patchwork quilt because of the land that was taken from the Indians, which they stopped doing that laws were passed to stop the state from doing that in 1934. And plus there's a lot of oil and gas underneath it. And I think that was pretty much stolen from the Indians. And so you go on so you're an angry person. You go in on to Skinwalker Ranch and you decide to kill a cow or do something, and you go back to your ranch, which is in reservation territory. The local sheriff, the county sheriff, he can come up, he can talk to you, and you can just go, fuck you.
Yeah,
I'm not talking to you. He has to go to the reservation police and say, hey, I think this guy over here has been messing with the ranchers. What's the reservation police going to go? He's going to go, fuck you. Yeah, stop arresting my people on our land, or whatever. Yeah. So I think Skinwalker is an island surrounded by hate, and all the weird stuff and stuff that happens there is because there are people in the area that just like to mess with the people that own the ranch. And this goes back the tribe supposedly that the Uintah Indians have. Supposedly been there for 2,000 years. So I think there's a lot of problems, and this is Mormons versus Indians, and
Mormons.
Utah was settled mostly by Mormons, so it's the Mormons versus Indians, and there's not a lot of love lost between them. So I don't. I think that's the easiest explanation for what's happening on Skinwalker Ranch. I think it's also an explanation why the new owner, there's not seeing anything magical happens because they got cameras and all this stuff around here. And in that documentary, they were going, it's like they know where the cameras are pointing and they do stuff just out of sight. You mean like a person that's trying to mess with you would do?
Yeah.
So that's my take on Skinwalker. I think it's just a bunch of long-standing hate being expressed against the people who own the ranch.
Well, even as it goes way back into, I don't know how far back, where they had the Skinwalker, which is this entity that comes in and kills you.
That's the Native American.
It's probably Native American coming in to kill you. You just
Oh yeah,
because
yeah,
you know how they'll dress themselves up.
yeah, yeah,
And it's all scary.
yeah.
And then they come in, and you should be leaving because this stuff's coming in. And but I don't know if they attacked the Indians too, so I don't know. It might have been territorial also.
Yeah, where did you see that they attacked the Indians? Now, there's two different issues, I should say, in that area. There's two different issues. There's Skinwalker,
right,
which I think has a long-standing history of hate with the Indians against the occupying forces in their reservation. And then there's the UFO sightings. That's two different things.
right.
So there was a lot of UFO sightings in that area, and that's Frank B. Salisbury books, the Utah UFO display. In his older book, he wrote all about the UFO sightings, and then in his newer book, he does talk about Skinwalker Ranch. But that is starting, I think, in the 90s is when they were seeing that.
Yeah, the real I mean, this Skinwalker thing's been going on for ages.
96 is what the earliest date that I'm seeing in this book, although I haven't read it yet.
Although, are these radiation readings real?
Well, the radiation, I mean, there's always, you're always.
What about the mystery bump on that guy's head? Did you watch the Skinwalker? Did you watch the series?
Yes.
The news?
Yes, it was like the
Season 2?
Yeah, it was like the mystery bump on Bob's head.
Yeah, so remove it.
Yeah. So now I don't
feel good. Well, they're in places like, man, I just don't feel good, and they walk.
Oh
off.
yeah. No, I mean it's and if you don't, I mean, you got that physicist who managed to poison himself because he's stupid enough to pull open an old well before they did a careful reading. Remember I talked about that?
Yeah. The sister,
and the guy's going, let's get the
radioactive.
The guy goes, well, let's get this stuff ready. He's like trying to get the Geiger counters ready to check the well, and the guy just like rips the top off of it, and he goes, "Oh, too late!" And then the guy gets radiation poisoned.
Well, the radiation, I guess, came from the radiation.
It builds up.
Bomb test. We had bomb tests.
It's in the soil. I mean, if you have there's natural levels of radiation. I don't know where the nearest uranium mines are, but there's there is natural radiation, and it does build up in spaces. And radon, people's basements build up radiation. I was at a guy's house once, and they had a brick basement, and we wanted to check it out because we'd been reading about this. So if you run a vacuum cleaner, you put a filter over the end of a vacuum cleaner, and then run the vacuum cleaner for a while, like in a basement that has bricks, the red bricks.
Yeah.
And we put that in the basement. We ran it for like 10 minutes, and then you measure the filter with the Geiger counter. That filter was screaming hot. The guy's house was really upset when he did that.
Yeah.
It was funny because this guy was a physicist, and he's like, and I'm like, the levels aren't. I worked with a lot of radiation. I go, the levels aren't that bad. And he's like, I wonder if the landlord knows about this. This is a very common thing with houses with basements with the red brick, because it has a degree of radioactive.
Is it the pigment in the brick or what?
No, it's the clay, because there's like depleted uranium or something in the clay.
Oh, that's nice.
And it leaks. It leaks radon gas slowly over time. So you have a basement. It's enclosed. It's sitting, and it builds up. And I wanted to test this in this guy's basement because they just moved into this place, and I knew the house had been sitting there for a while. I'm like, this would be a great place to see if this is true. And yeah, the guy was pretty freaked out. But all you do is you just vent the basement, open a window, and let it air out for a little bit. It's not a problem. But that guy opened that well. That well, who knows how long that well's been closed? 50 years? You're letting a lot of gas out. That's why he got burned from it, dummy. And he was a physicist. He should have known better.
It's just bizarre. I mean, we used to go exploring in different places. We didn't have anything that was, any houses or anything to like, I used to go dove hunting down by the Air Force Base down in Vacaville. Yeah. And, there would be abandoned ranches and stuff. There were a lot of weird. There wasn't anything weird. It was cool. It would be nice. You don't really see anything that you can open up.
Yeah.
And find anything.
Well, I mean, there's a great setup in that thing on the Skinwalker show, was because the other guy was like, you could see him, he's getting their Geiger counter ready to check the well. It's like, let's just crack it a little bit, put the Geiger count up there, and then just measure, see if it's hot. And if it was hot, then you pull it open a little more and you go away for a while, let it air out. But no, this guy had to rip it open. I'm a physicist. Yeah, you're not. You're stronger than radiation too, which you didn't prove.
Yeah. Yeah, and then all of a sudden, and when the other guy went, I guess too late.
Yeah, the other guy was ready. He goes, too late.
I guess I don't. Well, too late. You've already got it on you. I mean, radiation's nothing to screw around with. Oh
God. So yeah, I don't. I think the best, simplest explanation for Skinwalker Ranch is hate. And I actually feel sorry for what's his name, the guy that paid for all that stuff originally.
The new originally, or the
original guy, Bigelow.
Well, a guy owned it before Bigelow Ranch. Yeah,
and another guy bought it, and he's doing the TV show and milking it for all it's worth.
Brandon. What's his name? Fugue?
Yeah, something like that. He needs a better photographer and a better tailor from looking at his pictures.
Well, he's a rich man. He comes in, and like you said, he's he's a rich man, and flies in on his black helicopter.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's great. I think it's interesting. He paid a lot of money for the ranch, but I think he's sort of buying it. He wasn't buying the land; he's buying the reputation of the land. Yeah. And now he's making his money back by doing this TV show. But I think the simplest explanation for what's going on at Skinwalker, and my interpretation of the weird events that were happening around there, has to do with people that hate the people that stole the land, that are working this land, and they're just messing with the people. Yeah. It's the simplest explanation. And the people, as a Native American coming in there and messing with the people, once you're on tribal lands, they can't touch you. Unless they actually saw somebody, caught them on camera killing somebody on the ranch, then you could call in the federal authorities to come in and arrest the person. Other than that, they have complete independence to do whatever they want. And the only thing you can do is go to the tribal police and say, hey, you need to do something. The tribal police is going to tell you to fuck off.
Yeah.
So...
But it's Oak Island for all of you out there that have watched Oak Island. It's just Oak Island with UFOs, what's Oak Island's treasure is to Skinwalker's UFOs, because you don't find much of anything, and it keeps you. It doesn't even. You get to the end. It's Oak Island. You seemed to have a little hope at the end of the episodes, at least early on, not in the later ones. I gave up on it, but it's. But it had me hooked. It did have me hooked.
I'm actually thinking about checking out the early episodes just for the fun factor.
Yeah, it was fun in the beginning. And now they've punched so many holes in this poor island. They've drained the swamp. Yeah, we got permission because they're in Nova Scotia.
Another year, they're going to go back. There's not going to be an island anymore. It's going to be excavated down to the water line.
It's nothing. Okay, well, I guess we didn't find anything. See you guys. And wow, this is nonsense.
Yeah.
So... but I get to the end of an episode of the Skinwalker, the new one, and I feel I came up empty-handed. Totally not Oak Island empty-handed. Like, this was a waste of an hour because they went nowhere.
Yeah. Well, they put in more sensors, more cameras, which makes, and then they have all these guys running around with full combat gear. The Native Americans aren't sneaking in there to mess with stuff because it's too well covered, and there's too much going on. Whereas with when Bigelow was there and the other guy was there, they didn't have complete coverage of the area. They didn't have as much, as many sensors and stuff. I have a sneaking suspicion that probably there's video that Bigelow has that shows people sneaking around. And that might be why they gave up on it. I think Bigelow was conned left, right, and sideways with a lot of his investigations. And I think he had people around him that were just more interested in extracting money from him than genuinely investigating the phenomena that he is interested in. So, but that's my opinion. I don't know.
Well, they carried it on through this. The new guy bought it from him. I don't think he may have lost money because he invested.
Oh, he's getting his money out of the show. I mean, it's a production. I mean, he's got his money back. It's not a big deal.
But mainstream ufologists such as ourselves,
yes,
you watch this thing, and I don't know what person actually gets hooked into this. And I don't know if it's going to go season 3. Honestly,
I watched all of season 1, and
season 2's worse.
Oh God, season 1 I found interesting, and then it just
was good and fun. The setup was fun. It was good. They introduced us to the different areas. They got this dead. I mean, sorry out there, the spoiler alert, but a cow dies. The other cows wander away from it. And it's been, it's been surgically altered, but there's no flies. And so the interesting thing is, no flies land on this.
Oh,
but then the vet comes out, cuts, brings his sawzall out, cuts his leg off, brings it back to his lab. I can't remember if he even found any, or if we even got that far yet, where he took the cow's leg and investigated to see if there was anything unusual, because it just died randomly. Which cows? They sometimes die randomly. Yeah.
Well, the previous owners before Bigelow got there, they had a lot of cows who were not dying randomly. I think they were actively being, killed. So.
Well, they could have wild animals down in there.
Well, I think it was. I don't think it was wild animals that were killing. There was people. The previous owners were saying, we thought someone was messing with us, and I'm like, yeah, someone was messing with you. And that calf that was killed, and the mother that was injured. The mother was injured because they roped her in one leg, probably tied the other end to a fence post or a tree, grabbed the calf, drug it off, and butchered it. And that's just hate. And because when they did an analysis of the calf, they saw that the cuts were done with metal implements. So that was a message of hate sent to the owners. And then they also were saying, well, somehow these breeding cows were lured into this shed. You realize how hard it is to get one of these guys to do anything? Yeah, I can tell you how hard it is. Give me an apple.
Yeah,
I can lead that guy anywhere I want. Let him smell the apple. He'll walk into a shed. So yeah, I don't know. I don't like being treated like I'm a fool. And I feel like if you look into the history of Skinwalker Ranch, the way that the Native Americans were treated, the way that they're presenting this stuff with a minimal level of exposure, it's a bunch of crap. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, that's Devin, my opinion too. We seem to always come back to that when we discuss it. It's like, this is, and she'll accompany me on my forays into UFO films, and she actually was watching Skinwalker, but now she watches it with the eye of, this is garbage.
Yeah,
and she makes fun of it. Yeah. We end up making fun of it, but I don't see how it can carry. I don't, at least. Yeah, you need to have a theme, and you need to carry it through. Found a button.
Yeah, found a button.
Yeah, they're going to have to find something more tangible to carry it another season. They found nothing. I mean, they really have found nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, they've looked and they found petroglyphs of the,
Yeah, which shows you that area was the center of the Unata people, and it's been taken from them. And the best land has been taken from them. There's a lot of stuff has been stolen from them on that reservation. And people think that, the Native Americans are nice and sort of passive. And read about Geronimo, who is awesome. Read about, the Apache Wars. Geronimo was a super warrior who was, when he surrendered, I think the 4th or 5th time to the U.S. cavalry, they kept him as a prisoner of war for the rest of his life because they were afraid he'd go out and start, running rampant. Doing what he did best, which was
doing what Geronimo does.
Yeah, killing settlers and pioneers. So, Geronimo was something else. The guy was great.
Where did you look at? I know you got that book. You got the same book I do, and I haven't.
The Utah UFO display.
It's a more of a like a reference book almost.
Yeah, I haven't read it. I ordered it. What's your question?
Well, at what point did this get cordoned off? And the
reservation and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Caucasian people took it.
They stopped it in 1934. I haven't done any research on that, but I did when I was in college. You have to do all this general education stuff, and all my general education that I could fit in was anthropology. So, and a lot of it was Native American. So, based on my education, limited education, the history of Native Americans. And my friends that are Native Americans, because I had to think back. I go, do I know any Native Americans? And I do. I have 4 or 5 people that are.
Oh, really?
Yeah. A guy that lives in Oakland. He's Native American or part Native American. A woman I worked with was at. Can't remember if it's Harvard or she's at Harvard or MRT right now. Really, really sharp lady. And good friend of mine when I was in grad school. Although she died of a heart attack a few years ago, which is horrible. She was Native American.
Oh wow.
Brian, remember my brother's friend Brian?
Yes, Becker leg. Yeah.
He's Native American. And
is he still around? Well,
I don't know. It's a long time ago. He was.
Is he probably passed by now?
I don't know. I mean, last time I haven't seen him. Last time I saw him was probably 30 years ago. And
he was interesting. Yeah, it was your bike, your motorcycle, and he came up and he said, "Oh, that's a doke."
A doke.
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 It's a doke.
Yeah.
And he's looking at it's double overhead cam, Brian.
Yeah.
It's not really doke.
Yeah. He was.
You got a doke.
He was an interesting guy.
Though.
He was a nice guy. He was an interesting guy.
He was like Danny. He's like harmless, nice.
Yeah. And he had. He had his issues, but and he was funnier, and he might have been doing that on purpose.
He's screwing with me, I know.
Yeah,
probably.
But I can't remember. He was. I'm not going to go into stories about Brian, but he's got some great funny stories about him. But anyway, it was him, and there was someone else. So it's like. That our culture, especially where we grew up out in the West, I mean, we knew many people that were Native Americans, or at least part Native American. And this isn't just someone like we had that senator that said she was Native American and got all these good jobs and all this stuff. Right. These are people that carry the Bureau of Indian Affairs card that documents, because the BIA actually does extensive genealogical documentation of people and their tribal status. So these are people that have documented tribal status, and not someone going, I'm like that senator going, I'm a Native American, give me a job at Harvard. So, God.
Nice.
But anyway, I think there's not a lot of love between the Unitah Indians and the Mormon settlers who came in and basically messed with their reservation. And I think that's what's going on with Skinwalker.
Are you insinuating there might be a strong Mormon tie-in to the...
Well, it's Utah. Yes, there's a lot of... Yeah, I mean, the guy that bought it's Mormon. I think Bigelow is Mormon. Harry Reid is Mormon. Yeah. So there's a lot of... I mean, it's Utah, so there's a lot of Mormons in Utah.
Yeah.
So, and I should say, my dad helped build the Mormon church in the town we grew up in.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So...
That's incredible.
Yeah. So, yep. But anyway, that's it for that. So my rant on Skinwalker.
That's your rant on Skin. So we got the Washington merry-go-round, and I could read off several reports.
Well, we talked about this before from the Flying Saucers from Outer Space with Donald Kehoe, and there was.
And we were able to get through a book in one episode.
Yeah, it's because we were fast. We were fast.
didn't get sidetracked by current events.
Yeah. So, July 20th, 1952, at the ATCC Washington National Airport sightings. This is from the Flying Saucers from Outer Space by Donald Kehoe. Blips appeared at 12:40, I think p.m. 7 blips appeared. One-sided bright orange glow. No interceptors available. Capital Airline pilots saw 90-degree turns, rapid acceleration, 100 to 500 miles per hour. Estimate based on radar observations. Circled Washington, D.C. for 2 hours.
We were unable to get any fighters up there.
At least at the first night, they were not able to get fighters up there.
Right.
And let's see, blah, blah, blah. Annetta, these are different reports from that.
They eventually got some F-94s up that way.
They did.
And they ran. And then they ran. Things just scurried away. Right?
Yeah. And they, let's see, anything else? I'm just going through my... Nope, I'm not seeing. I don't have a lot from that. So, but we talked about that. And there was that docudrama that about UFOs and that incident with Chop, which Chop contributed. I think he might have even written or contributed to the script in that docudrama that was done.
Yeah.
And that was several nights.
He's also mentioned in this chapter too.
Chop is. Well, that was.
Yeah.
So they had. So there were several nights. There was lots of report sightings of UFOs over the Washington, D.C. area, around the airport, over the White House. One of the tower operators looked, and there was a huge fiery orange sphere hovering in the sky. They talked about temperature inversions. They didn't see anything about temperature. The temperature inversions didn't seem to hold water. And they did a bunch of reporters went to the airport when they sent out the interceptors. And all the reporters were in the radar room. And Chop and whoever kicked them all out.
Yeah.
And they said for security reasons. And what I don't know if it was in you could help with this, I don't remember, but in Ruppelt's book, I saw this somewhere. The reason, or Chop said that they kicked all the reporters out of the room because they thought it was going to be a first contact situation. They thought they were going to be able to actually have some sort of event with a flying saucer. And that sort of happened because then the pilot, the F-94 did get an intercept.
Right.
And he was right next, he was looking at him and he's flying alongside him and he's looking at him and he goes, "What do I do?"
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just
he straight up said, what do I
do?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like looking at one of these things. And,
well, the other story with the radar is that we had advanced radar technology, and they thought that possibly it would be a security issue having everybody looking, because the screens are giant. The radar screens.
Well, the old ones, yeah. Well, yeah, there's. I don't know what the new ones like. I haven't seen
2
them.
feet, but the new ones are probably more.
I toured a Passover Center years ago in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I was able to go in and see the place, and they were big then, but that was 30 years ago. So
right.
But
yeah, it's interesting. They're able to see these things, and they scurry them out of the room, and then there was the headlines that fiery objects outrun jets over Capitol. Investigation veiled in security following vain chase, and then jets alerted for saucers, interceptors chase lights in DC skies. And then there's an expert here to push story as objects in skies reported again. I mean, these things they were freaking out. These things were over, the U.S. Capitol.
Yeah, yeah. And then they had, what do we got here? They had that press conference with, and that's actually mentioned in, I have the status report for Project Bluebook number 8, which covers that period of time. I just saw this. They said something about the press conference balloons stuff.
Well, then the
So
next headline is Air Force debunks saucers as just natural phenomenon.
Yeah, and that was in the Kehoe book where they were saying that reporters were walking out of the press conference that was held at the Pentagon, and that was by Major General John A. Samford, Director of Intelligence, United States Air Force. 29 July 52 press conference. So Director of Operations. Others participated: Major General M. Ramey, Director of Operations, Air Force, Officer of Air Tech Intelligence Center. And this is from Project Bluebook's Unclassified Confidential Report, number 8. In essence, General Samford stated that to date, there were no indications that any of the reported objects that could not be identified constitute a menace to the United States. However, the Air Force would continue to give the subject adequate but not frantic attention. And what was really interesting is that they didn't let Ruppelt do an investigation. And when you look at this Project Bluebook report for that time, they don't have anything about the Washington event. They have a actually pretty cool graph which shows charts the number of sightings against articles. So they have from June, July, August, September, and then they have the Look magazine article, Life magazine, Look magazine article. And they're just using this to show that after those magazine articles appeared, the number of reports didn't go up. But then they then they went way up, publicized incident at Washington, D.C., and then it's highly publicized incident at Washington, D.C., and then they show Air Force press conference on UFOs. And so there's a big peak around there, and then there's an article in New Yorker. I don't know if I'm familiar with that one. And they show that there isn't an increase of UFO reports after these events. But what was weird was that here was Ruppelt, head of Project Bluebook, and the Pentagon wouldn't give him a car so he could go check things out.
Yeah.
And they basically told him he would have to take the bus. But not only that, they wouldn't give him a car. He couldn't find anybody to authorize him a car. Told him he had to take a bus or pay for a cab out of his own pocket. Plus, he had to report back to was it Wright-Patterson within like a day, or he would have gotten in trouble. So it's like they had the head of Project Bluebook at Washington, D.C. immediately after a major UFO event, and they didn't let him do anything. And then even in his report, the only thing they talk about the event is the press conference. And then you go into the incident reports, no mention of Washington, D.C.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then there was you said he was hammered in the lobby of the hotel. People wanted a statement from him. Yeah.
And he was,
what's he going to say? He goes, "They're not letting me do anything."
Yeah, his hands were tied at this point.
I decided that instead of giving a mysterious no comment, I would tell the truth. I have no idea what the Air Force is doing. In all probability, it is doing nothing. That's what he told the press.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah. Press conference found out that the press conference had been dismissed on grounds that the procedure is used and were classified. Yeah, that's when they kicked him out, which was nonsense. I knew that it was absurd because any ham radio operator worth his salt could build equipment and listen in on an intercept. The real reason for the press dismissal, I learned, was that not a few people in the radio room were positive that this night would be the big night in UFO history. The night when a pilot would close in on and get a good look at a UFO, and they didn't want the press to be in on it. So, and then that's what happened. The guy got in and got close, and he goes, "What do I do?" That documentary, that's a great scene. It's like, what do I do?
Yeah, I mean, here we are again came up empty-handed. Although they were able to track these things, but he's not able to really. I don't know what's to report.
I don't know, but it's interesting because he also says that this press conference was the largest and longest the Air Force had held since World War II. Convened at 4 p.m. General Samford made an honest effort to straighten out the Washington and national sightings, but the cards are stacked against him before he started. Major Dewey Fornett and Lieutenant Holcomb, who had been at the airport during the sightings, were extremely conspicuous by their absence, especially since it was common knowledge among the press that they weren't convinced the UFOs picked up on radars were weather targets. And that's, I think, what they were reporting, is that it was a weather inversion.
Right.
So, and the operators are going, this is no weather inversion. So, yeah, good stuff. So...
Yeah, so he, as we run through the chapter, I mean, this is where he's at now. He can't, his hands are tied at the moment. And
well, I think this is the beginning of the end of sort of the positive aspect of Project Bluebook. I mean, we're getting a lot of positive sort of reinforcement from the Pentagon. The reports talking about the cameras, and they're getting ready to deploy these cameras with these diffraction gratings. And nothing ever happened with these cameras. They're building them. They're getting ready to send them out according to these reports, but nothing happened from it. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Were you thinking Blue Books? They're not winding down yet. I mean,
no, they didn't wind it down until
they didn't die till 64, right?
Yeah, it's 69 is when they after the Condon report. So, yeah, I don't know. They, I think that it's just the momentum for Blue Book went up until this point, and it's obvious that the support for Ruppelt doing a honest appraisal of what was going on is gone at this point. If they won't give him a car, they didn't let him even investigate this incident when he's in D.C., when he's there.
Right.
They shut him down. So, hey, last thing, we got a few more minutes. Do you want to mention the Roswell stuff?
Yeah.
So
the new CUFOS periodical.
CUFOS, the International UFO Reporter. So you picked up the International UFO Reporter from October 1989. Volume 14, number 5. And what's interesting about that is that the CUFOS is doing an archaeological investigation of the Roswell site. And, we can talk about that a little more next week.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's cool. It's interesting. They went out there, they looked around, they did surveys, they talked to the son of the rancher who was able to point out the exact site of where it is. And then they... are following it up. So I don't know where it goes from here. They talk about they'll put more stuff in later newsletters, but there was a book written by people involved in it, which by Thomas Carey and Don Schmidt, Witness to Roswell, which I think talks about, well, they went and interviewed people, and I hope they talk about the Roswell site investigation. So I started looking into this because I didn't know anything or really think anything about the Roswell incident. I always thought it was sort of a hoax type thing. So apparently this is one of the better books. And then a guy named Moore Berlitz wrote a book in 1980 called The Roswell Incident, which is what got the ball rolling on people thinking about Roswell as a genuine UFO crash site. So I don't know. We'll take a look. I have reading to do in the future.
So,
but yeah, so
Roswell's huge. I know we always say, in the very few episodes in the beginning of the podcast, I said, we're going to mention Roswell a million times, along with the guy who had coined the phrase flying saucer over. He saw the 6 flying saucers, how they.
Oh yeah. What's his name? Arnold.
Guy's name?
Arnold.
Kenneth Arnold. Yeah. So, those were the beginnings. And I know Roswell, when was it? In the 80s. So they did archaeological studies.
1989, they went out there and did a survey of the site. You have the thing. I just read it.
Does it give the results?
They didn't really find anything. Read the article. It's a preliminary assessment of the site. Let's talk about it next time. And it's interesting, but it's got me thinking about Roswell. I mean, I never thought anything about Skinwalker Ranch, and I was intrigued by what I saw from watching the first series of that. But yeah, you've heard my opinion. In my opinion of what's going on at Skinwalker, which I think has nothing to do with trans-dimensional space aliens and has a lot to do with angry Native Americans
and documentary type money.
Yes, and making a buck. So yeah,
making a buck. All about.
Yeah, and I from what I've seen to talk about Bigelow, I think Bigelow is a very interesting man with genuine interest in exploring this stuff. I think he's been taken to a cleaners by a lot of people along the way.
Did you see his interview with Rogan?
I watched most of it. I watched about out of it. I haven't finished it because I do have other things to do.
Yeah,
other than collecting a massive library of UFO books. I did my bibliography of the UFO books I've got together. So
do you have a count?
I do. I have, including ebooks and PDFs of things that I've found online. I have 91. Essentially.
Holy crap!
Yes, and I ordered another 3. I ordered another 3 books this morning. I ordered the 2 Roswell books, and what was the third one? Oh, yeah. You know the Philadelphia experiment?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. This guy Moore wrote a book on the Philadelphia experiment. I think I read this a long time ago. I love that story.
Yeah. What was it called?
The one that I ordered by Moore, I think the Philadelphia experiment. So
yeah, I mean, I read a book but it was a story. It wasn't like
I read
documentation of what happened.
Yeah, I read a book I think I might have read this guy's book. I'll find out when I get it.
Yeah.
So yeah. But this guy, we'll see. So yeah, I'll look into, who knows, maybe in a month or so I'll go on a rant about how Roswell is totally bogus. So
I hope not.
Yeah, I would love to not do that, but I may.
All right, you ready to wrap it up?
We're done for today.
All right. Thanks for listening to the latest episode of the Alien Probe Podcast. We welcome comments, questions, or requests to alienprobepodcast@gmail.com. Visit us on Facebook at alienprobe.net, Twitter and at alienprobepod. See us on YouTube. We're not on video yet, but we've got our we've got our props. We're getting there. Thanks to our senior producer, Robert Anthony, and thanks again for joining us, Dr. Bill.
Okay, I'll see you.
See you next time.
All right.
All right.